I'm mixed with African American and white.
I'm half Vietnamese and half white.
Mixed with black and white.
I'm mixed with black and white.
I'm the son of a white mother and a black father.
I'm Creole.
And I'm mixed with black and white.
I'm mixed black and white.
When I'm asked my race, I usually say I'm black. Sometimes I'll say biracial, but people don't usually believe that I'm biracial. I look a lot more black. I stereotypically act a lot more black, so I usually just go with that.
I typically say black, and I think that's just a lot of biracial people, I'd speculate, are probably conditioned to just, especially if you're a mix of white and something else, it's usually the other one that becomes dominant.
I guess sometimes it's just hard to give an answer when people ask, because the answer is really complicated. I mean, people don't want to sit through the long list of everything that I am. People don't seem to understand what it means to be mixed.
Someone asks me my race, I usually say I'm biracial.
I usually say both Asian and white, but if I only get one, then I usually say white.
Recently, as I've gotten into high school, I usually just say that I'm black.
I do think a lot of the pressures put on multiracial and biracial people is the need that we feel to side with the race, to pick a race, to fit in with one particular race. So feeling like you have to identify with some part of your family, some part of you.
If I'm hanging out with white people, I'll probably identify myself as a white person. If I'm hanging out with black people, I'll probably identify myself like as a black person.
And a lot of times it's a lot easier to go with the race that people assume you are and say and tell you that you are than it is to explain to them that you're mixed.
I think when growing up, depending on the crowd that I was hanging around, if I was hanging around a more white crowd, I tended to feel like they were perceiving me as being black. And whenever I was amongst black people, I was a little bit anxious about wondering if they thought I was too white. And so as far as which one I've actually embraced, I don't think I've really embraced either race.
I more identify myself with like my white side of the family, just because those are who I spend the most time around.
I don't really identify with the race. Every time someone asks me, I pretty much give a different answer. Sometimes I just say black because I'm legally black, that's an easy answer, but people don't tend to accept that answer from someone who is light-skinned and has straight hair.
I say racially confused because it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you're mixed, but you're not really sure because, well, I don't really know. It's confusing. That's why I say it's racially confused. You get to the point where it's like, I don't even really know what race is.
We all have in our minds categories of what defines different racial groups. So we'll talk about skin color, skin tone, hair type, body type. And these are definitely physically caused, genetically caused traits. They're phenotypes that definitely are biological, and we're born with them. But the fact that we're picking those traits for the groups and categories that we put humans on, and that's an arbitrary choice that we're making.
I think I said to my mom one time that I was like, Dad is brown and you're pink, and she's like, well, what color are you? And I was like, well, I'm white. And then she's like, well, how does that work? And I was like, because that's the way God made me. But that was when I was like 5.
When I was young, I never really understood the concept of race. I remember hearing the words black and white and looking at the colors and thinking that doesn't look anything like me. I know, like in first grade, there was this marker called Sandy Tan, and it was my color. So when people asked if I was black or white, I always just said Sandy Tan because that's the color that I identified with.
Because I look more black, it's easier for me to just kind of fit in with black people, kind of no questions asked. I think biracial people have a tendency to hang out with people who more so look how they look.
I usually hang out with very Caucasian black people. Like the black people who are more inclined to like go to Lakeside, you know, the less predominantly African American black people. Does that make sense?
I hang out with black, white, Asian, it doesn't really matter.
It depends, I don't know, it sometimes depends on the time of year. Like during football season, I hang out with more black people. During soccer season, I hang out with more white people. So it really depends on the time of year.
And I think that's part of the struggle. I don't use the word struggle, but that's part of the, for lack of a better word, the struggle of trying to find a group to fit in with.
When I was young, I went to private school, so it was pretty much all white people. I went to public school and I was kind of having an identity crisis, and I tried to hang out as much as I could with black people to try and like figure out what I am, and now my friends are as mixed as I am.
Probably hanging around like my cousins that are my same age on the white side of my family, and just like no one really gets that we're cousins. All of my white family is really like blonde, so I look really different from them.
I remember we used to do family trees, and like I learned about like all different places I was from. I guess I wasn't fully aware of that because I assumed everyone was like that, but I found out that there are people who are just one race.
I'm not really sure. It was kind of the time where I guess my dad would try to act a little blacker because of him being kind of light, and he'd be like, okay, you gotta watch this thing on slavery, you gotta eat chitlins or something.
When I was younger, it was definitely awkward for me, and it was definitely uncomfortable for me. People would always ask if I was adopted, which is a really awkward question to be asked when you're a child. As I got older, it kind of faded away.
No, I don't feel uncomfortable about it. It feels pretty cool. I mean, maybe when I'm around different groups of people, it can get a little awkward. Like when I'm with my Asian family and they start speaking Vietnamese and I have no idea what they're saying.
There was a level of discomfort, but as I've gotten older, that has gone away, and I really don't feel uncomfortable anymore. It's not that big of a deal, and people are more accepting.
Yes, but mainly in a situation where no one has any idea that I'm mixed, and then they get really mad at me for saying that I'm mixed. Like I remember there was this assembly, and it was stand up, like at my old school, stand up based on like what racial group you feel like you're a part of. And okay, everyone stands up, they're like, okay, Caucasian people stand up, there's like Hispanic people stand up, there was like Asian people stand up, and then there was like black. Because I stood up too, and I just saw some of the people that were in the group running it, and like the teachers, and everyone looked really mad at me. But then one of the teachers were like, oh no, yeah, he's mixed. But it was one of those times where it actually really made me mad, because I'm like, you don't know. How dare you judge me? You think I'm joking? No, this is true.
No, I love being mixed.
Whoa!
I don't really see too much of a difference between people.
Just started saying that I'm black and calling it a day.
Dylan, what's the race of my friends? Black?
Definitely black.
Black, yeah.
My mom's side of the family, for lack of a better word, is very ghetto.
Put that in there, that sounds really racist.
All Asian people are smart. That's not true. Some of us are really dumb.
My first girlfriend was Mexican, didn't even speak English.
Nobody has any clue that I'm mixed at all. Nobody.
Blah, blah, blah. Rah, rah, rah. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. Nonsense. Blah, blah, blah. Rah, rah, rah. He typed nice with a